I am just absolutely heartbroken, as is most of the entire music world, as it was announced earlier today, Tuesday, July 22nd, that the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne, has died at the age of 76. There was a very brief statement from the family that was released earlier. If you haven't heard it, here's what it said. It is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. He was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family privacy at this time. Sharon, Jack, Kelly, Amy, and Lewis. Lewis, for those that don't know, is Ozzy's oldest son. He's not anywhere near as much of a public figure as Jack or Kelly. He's actually Ozzy's son from Ozzy's first wife, Thelma Riley. I think they had 3 kids together. One of them I think he adopted. She had one from another relationship. And I think he was in some early episodes of the Osbournes, if I'm not mistaken. But no cause of death was given in that statement. Obviously, Ozzy had more than his fair share of health issues over the years. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's back in 2019, among other issues. So it really could have been any number of things, I guess. And of course, back to the beginning, he was seated on that awesome black throne with the bat on top that he also had at his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction last fall. I'm sure we will get some more insight later on, but I will say that the timing of all of this is wild. With Back to the Beginning just a couple of weeks ago, I think at the time of filming this, it was like 17 days ago or something. We'll get more into that in a minute. But what's even more wild is that just recently, there were these AI-generated videos claiming that Ozzy is dying. Those videos were going around. Some were referencing the rumored suicide pact between himself and Sharon. And then Kelly actually posted some videos on her Instagram story saying that it's all bullshit. He's not dying. The suicide pact doesn't even exist. That was just something that Sharon made up. But then now we get this horrible news. I'm not saying it's connected or anything like that, or that Ozzy's been declining more and more in the last couple of weeks. We do not know what happened right now, but the timing of everything these last couple of weeks is very insane, to say the least. But yeah, just extremely gutting news. Of course, we just saw Ozzy, like I mentioned, for what is now, in fact, the final time of Back to the Beginning. That was on July 5th. It was set to be his farewell show as both a solo artist and his final show with Black Sabbath. And it really was just such an incredible and historic event. Whether you were there in person, you saw the live stream, there's hundreds of videos of it on YouTube. I've talked about it at great length. I think just about everybody online has. Obviously, it's even a bigger deal now, given the news that Ozzy is no longer with us. And there were some great comparisons about what that event was. I think it was Lars Ulrich. He referred to it as heavy metal summer camp, I think he said, which is exactly what it seemed to be as a viewer just watching the live stream and then seeing some of the behind the scenes photos that were posted online. But without sounding morbid, one of the best comparisons of Back to the Beginning that I saw was a comment somewhere, and maybe multiple people have said this, I'm sure, I don't know, but the comment said something like, it was like a funeral for someone that hadn't died yet. And I think especially now that comment could not be any more true. Back to the Beginning was just such a great celebration of an absolute legend who, without him, it goes without saying, but we really would not have so many of the bands that we have today, because Ozzy, of course, alongside Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward, they are the pioneers of heavy metal as we know it, going back to the late 60s when Black Sabbath was formed. But something that has always been so great about Ozzy, and something that so many people are not able to do, and if they are able to do it, it's very rare that they can do it at the same level that Ozzy was able to achieve, and that is having such a massively successful solo career. Arguably he's a bigger solo artist than Black Sabbath is a band, or at the very least, they're on the same level. I mean, the guy managed to have a career completely separate from Black Sabbath. Yes, obviously he would play some Black Sabbath songs live when he would be performing solo, but he had a solo catalog that was all his own, just filled with hit after hit, and nobody ever, I don't think, looked at him as the guy from Black Sabbath or whatever. Maybe, in the very, very early days around Blizzard of Oz or something like that, but I mean, just really remarkable what he was able to achieve both with Sabbath and as a solo artist. And to be fair, of course, Ozzy did have a lot of help from a lot of different people over the years. Tons of musicians that were in his solo band, Randy Rhoads, Bob Daisley, Jakey Lee, Zakk Wylde, a ton of others, and also Sharon. Yes, I know people like to dog her and goof on her, at times for good reason, admittedly, but I do feel that she is personally responsible for a lot of Ozzy's success post-Sabbath. But really, what can I say that hasn't already been said? I mean, Ozzy was and is an absolute legend, the Prince of Darkness, and as so many have pointed out today, for being the Prince of Darkness, he brought so much joy and happiness to millions of people around the world. I mean, an entire army of fans. I never met him, but I do know a few people who have, and they say that he was absolutely incredible to be around. I've had some guests here on the show who have or have had relationships with Ozzy. Billy Morrison, who put out a couple of solo songs that featured Ozzy. Rudy Sarzo, Gus G. I mean, Ozzy's impact is undeniable. And again, really, because of Sharon, his legacy extends far beyond music. Obviously, there was the Osbournes, probably one of the first, if not the first, celebrity family reality shows. It paved the way for a lot of other shows that followed. Then we of course, got to mention Ozzfest, which is a truly iconic cornerstone of hard rock and heavy metal, something that people still talk about to this day. Plenty of people have very fond memories of Ozzfest, and Ozzfest is responsible, or at least played some part, in breaking so many bands that are huge today. Quite a few getting their start in their early days being on Ozzfest, and it really had quite an impressive run from 1996, I think it was, up to 2018. There were some off years in there, and some years where it was just a one-off and things like that, but still, really, just such an incredible and historic run. I'm so glad that I got to see just one Ozzfest. It was in 2010, which I've said a couple of times before, but I believe 2010 was the final year that Ozzfest was a full-blown tour. I think after that, it was just a couple of shows, mostly just one-offs. That year, it was Ozzy, Motley Crue, and Halford, and then a ton of other bands. It was such a great experience. I'm very, very glad I got to go to one Ozzfest. But the other thing about Ozzy, I mean, that guy just aligned himself with some ridiculously insane and now iconic guitarists. I mean, Tony Iommi from the very beginning, and then Randy Rhoads, Bernie Tormé, Jakey Lee, Brad Gillis, Zakk Wylde, Gus G. I mean, so many, and obviously some played bigger parts than others in Ozzy's career, but I mean, just so many incredible guitarists that Ozzy has been aligned with. I mean, the guy was like Alice Cooper in terms of surrounding himself with great guitarists. It really is just an incredible thing. But yeah, really, I mean, seriously, what else is there to really say? I could go on and on and on about all the different things that Ozzy has done, all the huge impact that he has made over the last 4 or 5 decades, whatever it's been. But this is just some seriously, absolutely awful news. I guess not exactly surprising, although it is a little bit more surprising considering that Back to the Beginning was just 2.5 weeks ago or so, but extremely heartbreaking. Rest in peace to the Prince of Darkness. I would love to hear any memories or stories that you have about Ozzy. Let me know down below. I just wanted to hop on here real quick and pay tribute to the Prince of Darkness. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, and thank you for everything.